Hi, Mrs. Redneck here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a roux for gumbo, which takes both patience and bravery.
The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity.
To make the roux for the gumbo, we only need two ingredients. Flour, of which I put half a cup of flour in there for the amount of gumbo I'm making, which is my typical. And I'll do a little shy. Some people will tell you do equal parts, but I'll go ahead and cut it a little bit and do somewhere between a third of a cup and a half of a cup of just vegetable oil. I've tried other oils, olive oil and so forth, but vegetable oil or canola oil really is, I find, the best. We also need heat and time. So I haven't turned the heat on yet. I'm stirring the oil and the flour together, and you'll see it's a light creamy color like you would expect. If I were to make the gumbo with this, it would be kind of gross. The roux, R-O-U-X, imparts both flavor and thickness to the gumbo. I'm going to turn the heat on medium-high. This is going to take 10 to 15 minutes, which is where the patience comes in. We do not want to turn the heat up higher. That's not going to help it turn out well. In these videos, I like to give you something for your heart and for your home. Making roux reminds me of Ecclesiastes 7, verse 8, which says, "The end of a matter is better than the beginning, and patience is better than pride." The roux will turn out good if you can be patient and diligent to keep stirring. You notice I haven't stopped stirring, and that is on purpose. Again, we have this on medium-high heat. We cannot hurry it up by turning it to high heat. That will cause it to burn. If we put it on low heat or lower heat, that might still work, but it would take you a much longer time. For me, making roux or learning to make roux took bravery. Why? Well, because a rule of thumb is that you're supposed to keep cooking it. Let's see, where did I put that here? You're supposed to keep cooking it until it's about the color of a copper penny. And before I knew how to make roux, if I had a gravy base that was that dark and didn't have beef stock or something, where I started with just flour and water, I would say I had burnt it. But nope, you just got to be brave. You won't see much happening in the first few minutes, but then the flour will start to turn brown, and once it starts to turn, it happens very quickly. So do not take your eye off of the roux. I'm making the roux in a heavy bottom pot that I will use to finish the gumbo as well. Similar to avoiding heat that's too high, if your pot has too thin a metal on the bottom, the roux will also overheat and burn. See, we have a nice boil going on. I didn't change the heat. It just was a matter of heating up the oil and the flour. I'm going to switch arms for stirring. And even though it's boiling and I've been stirring, you can see we really don't have much change in color yet. But it's coming. It takes patience and bravery, at least for me, to make roux. Patience, because it takes time, 10 to 15 minutes. Bravery, because when I start to see flour turning brown, I start to think burning. And I am tempted to take it off of the heat. You know, how about now? How about now? I think I should take it off before it burns. But no, we really want this to get dark brown, almost to the color of a penny. It took me a while to be brave enough to let it go that long. As soon as that happens, though, we'll be adding our aromatics. If you remember, stop stirring for 1 second. I told you I was going to chop these up fine, or you could chop them by hand. This looks like a lot. We'll put that into the roux and into the roux base, and we'll cook it for about a minute right after the roux is done. That will release aromatics into the air, and it's about that time often that people start wandering through the kitchen saying, ooh, what is going on in here, because it smells really good. An interesting thing about those aromatics is that you won't know they're in there except by the flavor. You won't have these little chunks of vegetables left by the time the gumbo is finished. You will have this delicious gravy and the larger ingredients, the chicken, the sausage, and the okra. Ooh, I think I detect a little bit of a tan coming on here in this flour. Now we've got almost a golden color happening instead of that pasty color. But this is not it, not yet. You can see that the flour begins to stick a little bit, not in terms of actually sticking to the pan where you have to scrape it off, just this is turning into more of a paste, right, and a little less fluid. But the technique is the same. Keep stirring, keep moving it all around so that it continues to brown evenly. Now you can buy roux base in the grocery store, or at least you can in the South. It comes in various forms. There are forms in sort of, mason jars or mayonnaise jar type of containers. And then there are some that are dry and you add water to it. I've used those before and I don't mind them, but I have to tell you, my husband knows. He can tell if I've made the roux from scratch. And since it's something he really appreciates, that's just how I do it. Another benefit of making your own roux is obviously I'm not adding any preservatives or ingredients that I don't know the names of. See, we're getting brown. This is not yet though. Not done yet. This is about where I would start to get nervous, right? Not yet. It's not the color of a penny. But it'll go quick from here. Got to keep stirring. See that? And it's kind of becoming more paste-like, even more so. And the color begins to change. At least to me, it seems like the color is changing faster at this point. It might be just because I get nervous about burning it. Look at that. Oh. Should we check with our penny? I like that. All right. And that's the roux. What we're going to do next is add these aromatics, and it's going to be a big and wonderful sound and a cloud of delicious steam. And what I'm doing now is continuing to stir, because you do get some, it tries to stick to the bottom, but if you continually stir, it will become a paste. And you stir up all those bits on the bottom of the pan, and that's good. That's going to add good flavor. We're letting these saute just a bit. Next, I'm going to add the chicken broth that we prepared just a little bit at first. Here we go. Woo! And the reason I want just a little is I'm using it, you may have heard the term to deglazing a pan, like after you saute something. That little bit will help me deglaze or get up the little stuck bits at the bottom, which is all good. Boy, I wish you could smell this. Look at that. All right. If you haven't made gumbo before, that doesn't exactly look like soup that you'd normally have, does it? All right, you can already see those vegetables starting to disappear. Woo, that's the jalapeno. Okay, now I will add the rest of the chicken broth. Ooh, and there's the bay leaves. I'm going to go ahead and leave them in there. Now I'm going to stir gently until it's mixed. Now this does look more soup-like, but as we cook it and as we add the other ingredients, this is going to thicken back up.
There is a Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. Jesus, my Redeemer, name above all names, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, oh, for sinners slain. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son.